remember this name, Congresswoman Becca Balint, Democrat of Vermont. She is the first Democratic congressperson that has come out and asked for a ceasefire in Gaza. She is also a friend and came out in support of Rashida Tlaib, and more importantly, against what AIPAC is doing in attempting to get rid of all those women who have spoken up in support of a Palestinian state to end of the ceasefire and to protect the rights of Palestinians. Why don't you listen to Becca Balint, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Today, Congresswoman Becca Balint became the first Jewish Congress member to call for a ceasefire in Gaza. Writing in the Vermont Digger, "I'm one generation removed from the horrific trauma of the Holocaust, which impacted my family and reshaped the world. Like me, there are thousands of American Jews that share a deep emotional connection to Israel because of what it meant for the survival of the Jewish people in the face of extermination. This same history also drives so many of us to fight for the protection of Palestinian lives. I do not claim to know how to solve every aspect of this decades-long conflict. But what I do know is that killing civilians and killing children is an abomination and categorically unacceptable, no matter who the civilians are and no matter who the children are." And Congresswoman Becca Balint, Democrat from Vermont, joins me now. I want to first ask if I've pronounced your name correctly, Congresswoman.
I always say Balint rhymes with talent. So
Balint, and I love that. Well, thank you so much for being here and taking the time. I just want to ask you what the reaction has been. I know that this issue is so fraught for so many people. It's so emotional. And I just wonder what the reaction to you coming out for a ceasefire has been in your community and your family.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate that question. I want people to understand, I wrote this op-ed for Vermonters. It was really geared at my constituents. That was the audience, because it was clear to me that people didn't realize the depth of my emotion, what I had been struggling with for a month. And as politicians, you can't convey that in a tweet or a short statement. And I am a writer, and I thought I have to take the careful time. It took me a week to write that op-ed of really thinking carefully, what do I think? What do I feel? How do I express that to my constituents? And here's what I know, Joy. Every single member of Congress on the Democratic side that I have talked with in the last month, we all want the same things. We want the suffering to end. We want the bombs to stop falling. We want Hamas not to be in charge in Gaza anymore. We want the hostages back. We all want this. We are all in such pain. And I'm new to Congress, but I've talked with a lot of older members. They've all said the same things. This is the hardest moment they've ever been in because it is such a complex issue. It's been such a complex issue for so long that there are no easy answers. And we have gotten so hung up on trying to get the exact right words in this moment to express ourselves that we're not saying what it is that we all have in common, which is why I know each colleague of mine is going to be on their own path and figuring out how to say the things that they need to say to their constituents. But I believe there is so much more that connects us in what we want and what we think is needed to get to a two-state solution than what divides us. And I'm trying to create a space for that conversation to happen, because I don't want anyone to think that I feel like I get it exactly right.
Yeah,
I'm doing and saying what my constituents need to hear from me. And that has been my guidepost through this whole thing. And it is incredibly emotional. We all want to end the suffering. And I do want viewers to understand that, whether your member has said it in a way that you want them to say it, or on the timeline that you wanted to say it, I want to reassure everyone, we all want the same things. We're just perhaps differing on what we think is the best strategy to get there.
You are from Vermont. There is a rather famous United States senator from your state who a lot of his constituents are progressives who have been disappointed that Senator Bernie Sanders has not joined you in this call for a ceasefire. Does it surprise you that he has not? And does it surprise you that it's only Dick Durbin? There are 31 people total, 31 Democrats total who've called for a ceasefire. Only Dick Durbin in the Senate. Does it surprise you Bernie Sanders has not?
It doesn't, because I know Bernie well, and we've talked repeatedly over the last month, and I know he wants the same things that I do, as I said, and he is on his own journey of how he conveys that to his constituents. Again, I do not believe that calling for a ceasefire is the litmus test for whether people care about Palestinians or want an end to this conflict. I know he does deeply. We have to give each other a little bit more grace here.
One of the sort of not giving a lot of grace, AIPAC has indicated that there's a list of progressive members who are mainly women of color. They're all women of color, actually, who are now on their list that they are going to try to unseat. What do you make of the fact that this has become a litmus test for that lobby, that they are going to try to remove them, and that one of those members was already sanctioned by the House, including some Democrats joining in that?
Yes.
Including, and she's the only Palestinian, I should note, Rashida Tlaib.
Exactly. And that is exactly right. And I stood up for Rashida Tlaib, who we talked about. She is a friend of mine. She was one of the people who texted me today that we both share a history of our people suffering. And that has brought us together as friends. I don't support this effort to try to drive out women of color from Congress. I do not support trying to take on, as you said, the only Palestinian American member of Congress.
Yeah.
I think this is completely the wrong way to go about bringing this country together in our shared values, which is a secure Palestine, a secure Israel, making sure the hostages are all released. It is just driving more of a wedge. And I want to be someone who is trying to bring people together and not continue to drive wedges.
This is what we need. We need brave Congress people who are willing to buck the system, buck the past, that continuously only saw things through the eyes of Israel, whether it's a right-wing government in Israel or some sort of a center-right government in Israel. They've constantly, America has tended to simply look at things in one direction. It is great that we have Becca Balint, who decided that she was going to buck the system. She was going to choose humanity over machismo. She's going to choose humanity over the evil that has been occurring in those lands for all these times.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel. And number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.